On a warm summer morning in suburban Seattle, the street buzzed softly with children heading to school. No one sensed anything unusual until two German shepherds walking beside Officer Mark Jensen suddenly stopped. Their ears pricked, their bodies stiffened. These dogs weren't ordinary. Neighbors whispered that their instincts caught what human eyes missed. Mark recognized the shift instantly. That shared tension, that silent warning. Then the larger dog growled, low, deep, certain. Both stared at the pink teddy bear clutched in the arms of Emma, an 8-year-old girl happily walking toward class. A toy to everyone else. Yet inside it, something faint was ticking. A whisper, a pattern, a danger only the dogs could sense. And in that bright summer stillness, the hidden truth began to stir. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. The first heat of early summer settled over suburban Seattle like a warm sigh, softening the edges of the quiet neighborhood. Rows of maple trees, their leaves thick and green, cast trembling shadows across the sidewalk, where the sun filtered through in bright shards. A few cars rolled lazily along the street, engines humming in the already warm air. The day looked ordinary from the outside, one of those peaceful mornings when parents watered gardens and kids hurried off to school. Yet the stillness carried an undercurrent that only instinct could detect. And instinct was exactly what Emma's companions possessed. 8-year-old Emma, small for her age but radiating a gentle confidence, walked with a light bounce in her step. Her lightly wavy blonde hair framed a round, curious face dotted with a few early summer freckles. Her blue eyes, bright, wide, absorbing everything, held none of the worries adults carried. Instead, they reflected excitement, the anticipation only a child feels when starting a new school day. She wore a thin, pastel pink jacket, not for warmth, but because she loved the color, along with pale blue jeans and well-worn brown ankle boots. Tucked securely in her arms was a large, cream-colored teddy bear, old enough that its fur had lost its shine but precious enough to be carried everywhere. Her mother had suggested she bring it today to show a new classmate, and Emma had taken the mission seriously. Walking on either side of her were two German shepherds. The larger one, Ranger, was 4 years old, with a black and tan coat marked by deep, dignified colors. His build was powerful but not bulky, and his amber eyes carried a calm intelligence, the kind found in dogs who have lived enough danger to never take peace for granted. Ranger's temperament was steady. He had once belonged to a retired officer who trained him gently but firmly, and though that officer had passed away, Ranger retained the solemn loyalty of a working dog. The second dog, Scout, was younger, just under 2 years old. Scout's coat was lighter, more golden, his ears perpetually alert, and his movements quick and curious. His playful, adventurous spirit often contrasted Ranger's stoic demeanor, and together they balanced each other perfectly. Emma had grown up with both. They guarded her not merely out of training, but out of affection so deep it bordered on instinct. They padded alongside her as she followed the sidewalk toward the school bus stop at the main intersection. Emma hummed under her breath, the teddy bear bumping gently against her chest. She didn't notice Scout occasionally glance up at Ranger, as though asking silent questions. Ranger, older and wiser, seemed to observe everything around them with an intensity that suggested he sensed something slightly off. As they approached the intersection, the noise of the street swelled. A few kids gathered near the bus stop sign, a crossing guard. Mrs. Sarah Whitmore, a kind woman in her early 50s with short gray hair and soft, warm eyes, stood waving her flag as she always did, Sarah was short and a little round, the kind of woman whose first instinct was always to help, and whose second instinct was to worry. She noticed Emma approaching and smiled, lifting her hand in greeting. But before Emma could smile back, it happened. Ranger stopped. Scout stopped a heartbeat later. Both dogs stiffened, muscles tightening beneath their fur. Their ears snapped upright. Their eyes darted, not down the street, not at a stranger, but at the teddy bear clutched in Emma's arms. Emma slowed, confused. "What's wrong, boys?" she asked, hugging the toy instinctively. The answer came as a low rumble. Ranger growled first, deep and resonant, a sound so ancient and instinctive it seemed to vibrate through the pavement. Scout followed with a sharper growl, his hackles rising in a stiff ridge along his spine. Their bodies leaned forward, not in aggression toward Emma, but in warning, toward the bear. The street noise dimmed as if the world itself paused. A cyclist screeched to a halt. Two kids at the bus stop stopped talking mid-sentence. Sarah lowered her flag, blinking rapidly. And then the barking began. Violent, urgent, frantic. Ranger barked with authority, Scout with alarm, and together the sound echoed down the street like a siren. Emma jolted, tightening her arms protectively around the bear. "Stop it! It's just my teddy!" she cried, her voice cracking with confusion. But the dogs couldn't stop. Their instincts were screaming. Around them, people stared. A mother pulled her child closer. A jogger backed away. The tension rose quickly, fear beginning to ripple through an otherwise normal summer morning. Emma swallowed hard, suddenly smaller beneath the weight of two warning barks that made no sense to her. She looked down at the teddy bear, then up at the dogs, her breath quickening. Before she could say another word, a black car rolled slowly to the curb nearby. Its windows were tinted, the paint sleek and polished. The rear window lowered with a smooth hum. A man sat inside. Tall, sharp features, dark hair slicked back, black sunglasses masking his eyes. His jawline was tight, his expression unreadable. He looked at Emma, then at the teddy bear. And though she didn't know why, a chill danced beneath her skin. The sharp crack of Ranger's bark still echoed through the summer air as both German shepherds pressed forward, muscles taut, pulling Emma a step back from the sleek black sedan idling at the curb. The man inside maintained his stiff, polite smile, but his fingers gripped the steering wheel a little too tightly. His face, angular and clean-shaven, held a strange stillness, his jawline sharp beneath the summer sunlight, his expression unreadable behind his dark sunglasses. His voice, though smooth, carried an undertone that felt rehearsed, not natural. "Cute bear you got there," he said again, leaning slightly forward. His hair, black and neatly slicked back, didn't shift even in the breeze. Something about him felt too polished, too controlled, the kind of man who had spent years hiding his real thoughts behind a crafted mask. Ranger and Scout sensed it instantly. Their growls vibrated through the pavement. Emma clutched the teddy bear tighter. "It's just a toy," she whispered, though her voice trembled ever so slightly. From the sidewalk, Ms. Elaine Porter, the bus stop supervisor, rushed over. Elaine was in her early 40s, tall and lean with auburn hair tied into a functional ponytail. She had a stern face softened only by her freckled cheeks, and her quick steps showed a woman used to dealing with dozens of children every morning. She placed a steadying hand on Emma's shoulder, her brows knit in concern. "Sweetie, are they pulling you? What's going on?" Before Emma could answer, the murmurs around them grew louder. People paused mid-walk, eyebrows raised, exchanging uneasy glances. A middle-aged man with a grocery bag muttered, "Those dogs act like something's wrong." A teen whispered, "Maybe she's carrying something dangerous." Ranger's bark snapped their attention back. A patrol vehicle rolled to a slow halt near the corner. Out stepped Officer Lucas Hayes, a man in his mid-30s with broad shoulders and a weathered look around the eyes. Eyes that told of long nights on duty and the kind of patience learned from years of breaking up neighborhood disputes. Lucas had short, sandy hair, a trimmed beard, and a soft line of weariness beneath his lips, the kind left behind by a recent divorce that had shaken his confidence more than he admitted. But even tired, he radiated a quiet authority. "What seems to be the situation?" he asked, approaching calmly. The moment Lucas extended a hand toward the teddy bear, both dogs lunged, not at him but to block contact, barking with electric intensity. Their eyes fixated on the toy as though it housed something alive. "Easy! Easy!" Lucas held up both hands, stepping backward. "All right. That's not normal behavior." The black sedan driver's smile faltered. His gaze flicked from the bear to the dogs, then to Officer Hayes. The muscles in his jaw twitched. "I should get going," he murmured. His hand shifted toward the gear shifter. "Sir, hold. On!" Lucas called. But the man didn't. The sedan rolled forward. The moment it did, Ranger's instincts surged. He lunged toward Emma's arms, teeth snapping, not at her, but at the teddy bear. Emma screamed as the dog clamped onto the bear's torso, ripping it from her grip. "Ranger, no!" His weight yanked the bear downward. "Ram!" The sound was loud, startling. Fabric tearing, stitches exploding. Scout joined with a sharp bark, circling the fallen toy. And then, from the torn seam of the teddy bear's stomach, something glinted. A fragment of metal, thin, curved, unnatural, caught the sunlight. Gasps erupted. Elaine Porter covered her mouth. Officer Hayes knelt instantly, his expression tightening as he leaned closer. Emma's voice broke. No, it's just my bear. My mom fixed him last night." But no one was looking at Emma anymore. Their eyes were glued to that metallic shine. Lucas lifted the ripped fabric delicately, revealing more of the hidden object. Smooth silver, embedded deep inside the stuffing, something no toy manufacturer would ever put into a child's bear. Behind them, the black sedan turned the corner and disappeared. Ranger growled low, staring in the direction the car had gone. Scout mirrored him, ears flat, tail stiff like a drawn line. Emma watched, trembling, clutching only the empty arms of her once-beloved toy. Her breath caught in her throat, and for the first time, she felt something colder than fear, confusion that burrowed deep. Why was that inside my bear?" she whispered. No one had an answer, but everyone felt the question linger, heavy and sharp. For a moment, the torn teddy bear lay on the asphalt like a fallen soldier, its cotton stuffing drifting in the summer breeze, the metallic shard within catching the sunlight like a misplaced secret. The small crowd around Emma fell silent. Even the usual street chatter of suburban Seattle seemed to shrink away, replaced by the uneasy realization that something meant for a child had never been meant to be innocent. Officer Lucas Hayes crouched closer, his brow tightening as he reached for the metal piece. The more he examined it, the more the small hairs along his neck rose. Lucas had seen strange things during his years on the force, but this, hidden inside a little girl's toy, unearthed a deeper instinct. His recent divorce had sharpened his sense of responsibility toward vulnerable children. Protecting Emma now felt personal. The driver of the black sedan was nowhere in sight. Lucas had sprinted toward the car earlier, shouting for the man to step out, but the engine had snarled to life and the vehicle shot away, leaving only the smell of burnt rubber in the air. It wasn't panic. It was too deliberate, too precise. Someone who knew exactly what they were running from. Ranger and Scout watched the disappearing car, their bodies tense and ready to chase. Ranger's older, wiser eyes followed the sedan with a hardened stare. Scout paced, tail stiff, letting out a frustrated whine. It took Lucas's firm command to settle them. Within minutes, backup arrived. A marked police SUV pulled up, and out stepped Sergeant Linda Navarro, a woman in her early 50s with a sturdy build, silver-streaked black hair tightly braided, and dark eyes that wasted no movement. She had the presence of someone who had commanded chaotic scenes for decades. Known for her no-nonsense leadership, she was calm, analytical, and carried the weight of years spent negotiating between danger and duty. "What do we have?" she asked, crossing her arms. Lucas handed her the metal fragment. "Not a toy part. Something's off." Linda turned the object over in her thick, calloused fingers. "Feels like microcircuit housing," she muttered. "Why would this be inside a teddy bear?" That was the question hanging in the air. Within minutes, Emma, Ranger, and Scout were guided gently into the police SUV. Emma sat trembling in the back seat beside Lucas, the torn remains of her teddy bear clutched to her chest. The girl's normally bright blue eyes had dimmed, replaced by confusion and fear. Lucas offered a reassuring nod, and Ranger, ever protective, rested his broad head gently on Emma's knee. "We'll figure it out, all right?" Lucas said softly. Emma nodded but kept her gaze lowered. At the station's small security analysis room, the fluorescent lights hummed quietly overhead. The air smelled faintly of metal and cold coffee. Trevor Brooks, the on-duty technician, stepped inside. He was in his late 20s, lanky with messy brown hair and wire-framed, glasses that always slid to the edge of his nose. Brilliant but awkward, Trevor was the kind of person who could dismantle a computer blindfolded, but stumbled through casual conversation. He flashed an uneasy smile at the officers. "Let's see this infamous bear," he said. As Trevor examined the interior stuffing, he pulled out several more metallic slivers, thin, curved components with intricate engravings. His brow furrowed. "These aren't toy parts. These look like transmitter elements. Someone went through great trouble to hide them inside." Emma's breath hitched. I don't know anything. Mom put it on the table this morning. She said I could bring it to school." Trevor softened his voice. "It's okay, Emma. You're not in trouble." Ranger sat beside her, occasionally nudging her with his nose. Scout stood close, watching Trevor with suspicious eyes. Every time Trevor reached for more stuffing, both dogs leaned forward, alert but controlled, protective guardians deciding whether to trust the strange man with the strange machine. Lucas crouched beside Emma. "Sweetheart, did anyone else touch your bear recently? Anyone at all?" Emma narrowed her eyes, trying to remember. "I think yesterday there was a woman at our porch. She talked to my mom." Lucas exchanged a glance with Linda. "A neighbor?" Emma shook her head. "No, I've never seen her before. She had long dark hair and wore a green coat. She smiled at me a lot. She said my bear was special." Linda's expression hardened. "Did she give your mom anything?" I don't know." Trevor suddenly straightened. I'm getting something. He turned to his computer, where a diagnostic scan revealed a digital mapping interface. A blinking dot pulsed on the screen. That's odd. These fragments form a partial tracking signal, he murmured. Lucas stepped closer. Tracking what? Trevor clicked a few keys. The mapping program zoomed in. The pulsing dot stabilized. It's pointing somewhere local, Trevor whispered. Linda leaned in. Where? The monitor beeped, marking a pinpoint. Trevor swallowed hard. Right there. The highlighted location blinked bright yellow. Emma's elementary school. A cold wave swept the room. Ranger growled low. Scout's ears flattened as he let out a sharp bark, one filled with dread. Emma clutched the remains of her teddy bear tighter. Why? Why would my school be on there? No one answered. Because the truth forming in that room was impossible, terrifying, and just beginning to unfold. The patrol SUV sped through the summer-bright streets of Seattle, sirens off to avoid panic, but urgency pulsing in every turn. The map Trevor had projected still burned in Lucas's mind. The blinking signal nested inside Emma's elementary school like a quiet heartbeat. As they approached the campus, the ordinary world seemed to swallow the threat whole. Children bounded across the sidewalks with backpacks bouncing. Parents waved goodbye from car windows, and the golden sun washed everything in an innocent glow. Nobody suspected that danger had threaded itself into their morning routine. The moment Ranger and Scout jumped from the SUV, their bodies transformed from gentle companions into full-alert guardians. Ranger's broad chest rose slowly as he inhaled the scents around the entrance, scanning the air with seasoned precision. Scout, lighter and more reactive, jerked against his leash, nose low to the ground, tail stiff as an antenna. They moved with purpose, one drifting toward the teacher's parking lot, the other veering toward the rear of the building where the computer lab sat quiet and shaded beneath tall pine trees. Officer Lucas Hayes tightened his hold on Emma's shoulder. She clutched the torn teddy bear remnants, her fingers trembling around its limp, furry arm. Stay close, Lucas murmured, trying to steady his voice. Emma nodded, though her eyes darted nervously toward the school's main building. Just as they crossed through the front gate, Emma froze. A woman stood near the east side of the computer wing, tall, slim, with long black hair that fell straight past her shoulders. She wore khaki slacks and a pale blue button-up shirt, and a laminated ID badge bounced lightly against her chest. She looked exactly like any teacher preparing for a school day, until her dark eyes lifted and collided with Emma's. Emma's breath hitched. That's her, she whispered. It was the woman from her porch, the stranger who had smiled too long, stared too deeply, praised the teddy bear with unnatural interest. Ranger and Scout reacted instantly. A synchronized growl throbbed through their bodies. Their hackles rose like bristles, and both dogs pulled violently to reposition themselves between Emma and the woman. The woman, now seeing Emma flanked by a police officer and two highly alert dogs, stiffened. Her expression flickered with something sharp, calculation, then alarm. Lucas narrowed his eyes. "Ma'am," he called out, "may I speak with you for a moment?" She took one step back, a subtle but telling move. Her heel scraped the asphalt with a whisper of retreat. A security cart pulled up nearby, driven by Mr. Harold Dixon, the school's head custodian. Harold was in his 60s, round-shouldered and weathered, with a shock of white hair and deep-set wrinkles carved from decades of early mornings. He was known around the school for his gentle patience with students and his quick fix-it abilities. "Everything all right here?" he asked, wiping his hands on a rag tucked into his belt. Before Lucas could respond, his radio crackled. Trevor's voice came through, sharp and tense. "Officer Hayes, we're picking up additional transmitters, same frequency. Location, student lockers, clustered near Emma's grade level." Lucas's jaw clenched. Emma's eyes widened in fear, and the woman in the blue shirt stepped back again, this time more deliberately. Harold blinked, confused. "Ma'am, you look pale. Are you?" But her hand slid into her pocket. A small, deliberate movement. Ranger barked thunderously. Scout lunged forward, nearly jerking Lucas off balance. The woman's mask of calm cracked, revealing a flash of cold determination. She tilted her chin up, and Lucas saw it. A small black device half hidden in her grip. "Stop!" Lucas shouted. "Don't move!" But she did. She pressed her thumb against the device. At that exact moment, Ranger broke free. His collar snapped with a metallic pop, and the powerful German shepherd exploded forward like a launched arrow. Scout shot after him, the leash sliding through Lucas's fingers, friction burning his palm. The woman spun toward the rear exit door, shoving it open with her shoulder. Trevor's voice boomed through the radio. "Officer Hayes, the map just flashed red. Something activated." A warning tone shrieked from the portable scanner clipped to Lucas's belt, and on Trevor's computer back at the station, a blinking red signal pulsed dangerously from the school's floor plan. The woman darted into the dim hall. Ranger raced after her, a growl like rolling thunder. Scout bounded beside him, his paws drumming against concrete. Emma screamed, reaching out instinctively. "No!" Lucas grabbed her arm, pulling her out of harm's way as the door slammed shut behind the dogs and the fleeing imposter. Somewhere inside the school, danger was waking. The back hallway of the elementary school reverberated with footsteps, shouts, and the echo of Ranger's booming growl. The imposter woman sprinted down the dim corridor, her long dark hair whipping behind her as she shoved past abandoned science projects and lockers decorated with summer stickers. In her hand, the small black device blinked with a single red diode, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat preparing to quicken. She glanced over her shoulder, her breath sharp, her face twisted with frustration. Her once calm expression had split open into something raw, fear mixed with determination. Behind her, Ranger closed the distance with long, powerful strides. The older German shepherd slammed into full pursuit mode, muscles rippling beneath his black and tan coat. Years of protective instinct guided every movement. Scout raced just a breath behind him, his younger energy turning him into a streak of gold-brown fur cutting through the hallway. Their paws thundered against the floor, sending vibrations through the lockers. Officer Lucas Hayes burst through the exit door seconds later, nearly colliding with Principal Owen Whitford, who had stepped into the corridor at the worst possible moment. Principal Whitford, a man in his late 50s with a tall, thin build and a salt-and-pepper beard trimmed neatly along his angular jaw, jumped at the sudden chaos. His gray suit, perpetually a size too big, rustled as he steadied himself. Despite his appearance of fragility, his voice held authority shaped by decades in education. "Officer Hayes? What on earth?" "No time!" Lucas barked, sprinting past him. "Get everyone out of the halls!" Principal Whitford, though bewildered, clicked instantly into crisis mode, shouting for nearby teachers to pull students into classrooms. A few children peeked through open doors, eyes widening at the sight of the two German shepherds thundering after the fleeing woman. The imposter skidded around a corner, her shoes screeching against the tile. She slammed into the rear exit door leading to the faculty courtyard. Sunlight exploded into her eyes, but she didn't slow. Her fingers tightened around the activation device. Just one press, one signal sent. That was all she needed. She spun, and Ranger launched. The large German shepherd hurled his weight into her arm, jaws clamping around her wrist with surgical precision. Not to maim, but to disarm. The device flew from her hand, spinning through the air like a dark stone skipping water. It hit the cement. A crack split the courtyard as the device shattered, the red light flickering once before dying. "No!" the woman screamed, scrambling backward. Scout burst through the doorway next, planting himself between her and the remaining exit. His growl vibrated through the air, deep and sharp, warning her that any attempt to run again would end differently. The woman froze, chest heaving, eyes darting wildly between the two dogs. Officer Hayes emerged, moments later, panting, gun drawn. Behind him, Sergeant Linda Navarro rushed in with two officers. Linda's stern face tightened further as she snapped the cuffs onto the woman's wrists. "You're done," she said coldly. The woman didn't answer. She only glared at Emma's torn teddy bear still tucked under Lucas's arm. Within an hour, the school was swept room by room. Trevor's readings guided officers through hallways, pointing them to multiple hidden transmitters buried inside ordinary school items. Pencil boxes, lunch bags, even a jacket pocket. Some were half-assembled, others fully functional. The woman must have planted them over days, blending seamlessly into school crowds under a forged identity. Ranger and Scout remained at Emma's side through it all, sitting close enough that their warm fur brushed her trembling legs. Emma clung to Ranger's neck, her small fingers twisting through the thick fur. Scout rested his chin gently on her knee, letting her pet him without moving. The air grew heavy when Emma's mother arrived. Grace Miller, a woman in her mid-30s with soft blonde hair pulled into a messy bun, ran into the office with panic painted across her pale face. Her green eyes, so similar to Emma's, filled instantly with tears as she knelt to gather Emma into her arms. Grace worked long shifts as a nurse, and exhaustion lived constantly in her posture. But the fear of almost losing her child jolted her with fierce clarity. "I'm sorry, my baby. I'm so sorry I didn't protect you." Emma hugged her tightly. "It's okay, Mommy. The dog saved me." Grace looked at Ranger and Scout with indescribable gratitude, her voice breaking. "Thank you. Thank you so much." When the danger was finally contained and the school declared safe, Principal Whitford assembled staff, students, and the police for a small ceremony beneath the shade of a sprawling oak tree on the playground. The late afternoon sun washed the courtyard in gold. Two small medals, silver bone-shaped pendants engraved with "For Courage," were presented to Ranger and Scout. Ranger sat tall, dignified, while Scout wagged uncontrollably, earning giggles from the children. Emma knelt between them, still wearing her pastel pink jacket, jeans, and brown boots. She wrapped her arms around their necks, whispering, "If it wasn't for you two, today would have been so different." Ranger nudged her cheek gently. Scout licked her hand. The breeze carried laughter across the playground. As the dismissal bell rang, Emma turned to wave at the two dogs sitting proudly beside the patrol vehicle. They answered with a single unified bark, strong, warm, triumphant. A bark that meant protection. A bark that meant love. A bark that meant heroes walk on four legs too. In the quiet glow of that summer afternoon, as Ranger and Scout rested beneath the oak tree, and Emma's laughter drifted across the playground. One truth shimmered through the dust of fear and relief. Sometimes the greatest miracles arrive on four legs, wrapped in instincts we can't explain, and courage we don't deserve. And perhaps, just perhaps, these moments are gentle reminders from above. A whisper from God that protection comes in many forms, that light appears even in the smallest corners of danger, and that no child walks alone when love is watching. Everyday life often moves too fast for us to notice the miracles woven into it. The kindness of strangers, the loyalty of our companions, the unexpected courage that rises when fear knocks at our door. But stories like Emma's remind us to pause, to breathe, and to see the divine fingerprints in the ordinary. If this story touched your heart, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments, send this video to someone you care about, and subscribe to the channel so we can continue bringing you stories of hope, bravery, and the quiet miracles happening around us. May God bless you, protect your family, and guide your steps, just as He guided two brave German shepherds who listened to something only heaven could have whispered.